God, I'm such a child. What up, naughty steppers? It's Connor Whitmore here once again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel. And in today's review, I'm going to be talking about the new EP from Peekaboo, released on Wakaan, Imposters. An artist hailing from Detroit, not known to many, having only really found his way into the bass mainstream around a year ago. But with a Bassnectar collaboration to his name already for their track Disrupt the System, and garnering praise in the process from the likes of RL Grime, REZZ and Dubloads. Someone who delves mostly into the deeper, more experimental sides of slow tempo production. As evidenced by his remix for Atlians of their track Witch Doctor alongside G-Rex, a particularly devilish, mind-numbing experience, my undeniable favourite from that remix compilation. Tapping into the freeform bass style of production, popularised by the Wakaan label, headed by none other than Liquid Stranger. And seemingly eager to impose this entrancing kind of music on bass fanatics of all genre interests. In the same way that the Imposters impose themselves on the planet they land on, the picture that is painted by this EP from start to finish. Now before we get into the music of this thing, you know, the meat of it, I'm just going to take you through the titles of these tracks. So, in order, we've got Aliens, then Arrival, then Invasion, then Imposters. I mean, the theme is so strong here with these names alone that the music has to follow suit. Moreover, this theme has a linearity to it running through track 1 to 4, presenting the alien life form with the arrival and following invasion of another species, and the invaders then labelled as imposters. But who is invading who, you may ask? Well, we'll get back to that. These 4 tracks are eerie, distant, alienating, if you will excuse that very overt reference, but honestly that is the effect that they have on you. All fundamentally mellow, but with such a menace and bite to them that is hard to ignore. Through this understanding, Peekaboo is kind of affirming our beliefs here that aliens seem welcoming on the outside, but are capable of mass destruction. It begins with some gloomy, unsettling notes to very much place us in that outerworldly setting from the very off. With some fidgety mechanical noises operating in the background as if something is starting up, it's an exceptionally vivid listen. This machinery gearing up in that intricate way before suddenly going from 0 to 100 in what is a very quick build, a vocal sample unsure of what it is that's coming their way. Breaking the unease with a selection of gripping wubs that take our attention down a completely different route. Before we are ensnared by this fuzzy, low-level white noise that holds you in its grasp, freezing you like a softly glowing light. And this sequence proceeds to become a significant aspect of this track in its various forms from start to finish. Taking the fuzzy part through a higher octave, bringing in some jabbing notes, making the fuzzy part more screechy and aggressive in the second drop, slight changes that are all very significant. All the while the machine is working away, those gloomy notes are shooing their way into the beat, and the percussion being so on point that you hardly notice it at all. And by this I mean that it provides such a solid bass as the thing propping everything up. There's nothing too showy about it to distract you from what lays on top. Many of the synths used here are very grating on the surface, yet the track never becomes irritable in any way because they're all delivered through this mellow medium. And I'm going into such detail on this first track just because I think with this EP it's very important to set the scene before telling the rest of the story. Which I would say continues in a very similar vein, effortlessly accessing the extraterrestrial, the mechanical, the industrial, across the following 3 tunes. I'd go as far as to say that in their openings, these tracks get increasingly discomforting over time. As mentioned, the beginning of the EP is truly unsettling, and the second track, Arrival, starts more tense, alluding to the unknown with a quietly animalistic backdrop and screams heard in the distance. Not to mention the terrifying sample which lets us know for good who is on the wrong side of this invasion. Yep, it's the humans. The third cut, Invasion, is grungier and more underground at its inception, with those primal drums helping to embellish this creature-infested vibe. Whilst the fourth is just perturbing as anything, with that zombie-like moaning sound setting the stage for the idea that the humans' time is up. So I'd say the beginning scenes of these tracks here get progressively bleak, from curious to uncertain, then under siege, and lastly, taken over. And what makes these tracks even more unsettling are the beats that come with them. The fact that they are pretty run-of-the-mill works very well for the overall theme, giving the impression that the aliens' decimation of Earth is a work in progress. The percussion for the most part could have been huge and wild, but instead it's pensive and plodding, making the process a long-lasting one. Quite a scary thought. And it's these simple backdrops that provide the platform for everything else to happen, and at points there is a fair bit to dissect. Notably in the drop to the third track, Invasion, where there is a lot going on to the extent that it is genuinely difficult to pick apart. But it all works with the general theme of the EP to combine a few notes, in this case some clinky clanky sounds, with the mechanical tweaks operating in the background. Starting with one thumping note to put you right off your seat, something which is shared by the drop in the second track, Arrival, where a fat bass sound bulldozes in, sending you into another dimension before the following tom drums, squelchy effects and cutesy twangs ensue. So the drops of the second and third tracks really leave their mark on you, but in entirely different ways, the former more impactful, the latter just toys with you. The drop to the fourth stands somewhat in juxtaposition with its worrying zombie-inspired intro, with a thudding kick-led drum section that is actually very soothing, with little sprinkles of bright sound and some thick isolated wubs, yet still with the noise of the undead lingering underneath. And this stacking of sounds is reflective not only of Peekaboo's ability to draw on ideas from the beginning of these tracks and incorporate them seamlessly later on, but also of his patience in construction. I love the way in which all of these 4 tracks are managed, so carefully, with each sound working towards that overarching theme. And as well as having this alien theme, you could also argue that this sort of music is alien to avid fans of bass music. This could easily have been a dubstep EP or a trap one or any other common genre, but it's all made the more alienating through that warped, distant vibe that it possesses. There is nothing overtly special about the beats here, that which is usually the first port of call for getting someone into a piece of music. But what they allow, more importantly, is for all of these sounds to have their say on this EP. I'll just give you a few of my favourites. I really like the cicada effect at the end of the second track. This sounds like something taken straight out of an Alien vs Predator film, frail but intense. I love those pounding notes in the second drop of Invasion, a mid-tempo sequence that isn't entirely emphatic, but just knows what it wants to do. That luminescent sound brought in midway through the first drop of the final title track at 1 minute 36, faint but very effective. The aliens are at work here. And lastly, I'm going to go to the first song with its ending vocal sample of "We're not so different after all." Ah, how wrong you are, my friend. In a way, I feel like he could have played on the theme a little bit more, maybe making the songs a little bit more cinematic and grand and not so contained. But to be honest, I think that is its appeal, as I said, to create that alienating distance between producer and listener to ensure a really uncertain, unsettling and disturbing listen. And it succeeds terrifically at that. I come out of it wondering as to the problems that we would face if aliens were to land on this very planet. If they are actually out there, then they're probably listening in on this very recording right now. Jesus Christ, everyone find a safe place, But no, this is a fantastic collection of songs, would really recommend to any lovers of bass music. Producers like Peekaboo are needed in the game to keep that flow of ingenuity going. Also, especially if you're into your sci-fi, or if any of you like your extraterrestrial or outer worldly shit, I'd love to know what you think of this EP. Now, in terms of a favourite from the EP, then I'm struggling to pick out just one, to be honest, and I think I'm going to leave it at that. All 4 songs have a lot going for them, and all work towards the whole very well. But in terms of recommendations, if you enjoyed this EP, then I would look at the likes of Heckler, Bleep Bloop, G Jones, EPROM. You know, these artists don't share a lot in terms of their beats, but there are certainly some similar noises and effects in there. And so that is that for another review on the Nawtystep channel, this time of the new EP from Peekaboo, released on Wakaan, entitled Imposters. Thank you very much, and as always, for tuning in. Be sure to leave a comment with your thoughts on Imposters. What did you guys make of it? Which track was your favourite from the 4? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, then be sure to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hitting the notification bell along the way so you can be notified whenever I upload to the Nawtystep channel. Next to my head there should be some other experimental dark electronic music EP reviews, so if you enjoyed this one then be sure to check those out. And don't forget to like and follow Nawtystep across all social media if you haven't already. With everything linked, including those recommendations, in the description box down below. And lastly, if it's naughty, then you know guys, so be sure, as always, to keep it naughty and stay safe. And I shall see all of you lovely dark electronic music folk in the next one. Peace out.